The moon vanished behind clouds, but its light stayed on the road. I noticed it because everything else disappeared. One moment the road stretched ahead in the usual dull wash of my headlights. Cracked asphalt, reflective paint, the shallow shine of dampness clinging to the surface. The next, the sky sealed over. The clouds thickened into something dense and total, swallowing the moon so completely it felt erased rather than hidden. But the light didn't go with it. A pale strip remained on the road, thin and silver, laid precisely between the faded center line and the shoulder. It didn't spill outward. It didn't touch the trees. It didn't soften at the edges. It just stayed. I blinked hard, thinking I'd caught an afterimage. The engine hummed beneath me, steady and low. The tires whispered against the asphalt. A soft friction that filled the car once the world outside fell quiet. I eased off the accelerator, letting the speed drop. The light held its distance. It didn't grow closer as I slowed. It didn't drift away. It hovered just ahead of the hood, fixed like something tethered to me rather than the road. "Okay," I said, just to hear a voice. It sounded smaller than I expected. Fog had begun to gather along the ditches, creeping up from the low ground. It curled over the edges of the asphalt in thin strands, then stilled, as if whatever wind had carried it there had lost interest. The trees beyond it stood rigid and black, their branches tangled together like something woven shut. I flicked my headlights off. Darkness should have swallowed everything. Didn't. The silver band remained exactly as it was, clear, defined, untouched by the absence of my lights. The rest of the world collapsed into blackness so complete it felt physical, pressing against the windows. My pulse tightened. I turned the headlights back on quickly. Their yellow beams returned, but weaker somehow, as if they weren't allowed to extend past the pale strip. The light ahead seemed to resist them, holding its own shape, its own authority. I drove on. The road curved ahead, a shallow bend I knew by memory. I'd taken this route enough times to anticipate the turns, the dips, the uneven shoulders where gravel collected. The light reached the curve before I did. It bent early, sliding across the asphalt at an angle that cut ahead of the car. For a second, it illuminated a section of road I hadn't reached yet, leaving the space directly in front of me dimmer by comparison. Like it was looking. My grip on the wheel tightened. The temperature inside the car dropped a degree, maybe two. Subtle, but enough that the air against my hands felt cooler, thinner. I rubbed my thumb along the steering wheel without realizing it, feeling the texture of worn leather, grounding myself in something real. "Just fog," I said. "Just refraction." But there was nothing to refract. The clouds above were solid. The moon was gone. The light moved again, sliding forward to maintain its distance as I entered the curve. It traced the road with perfect accuracy, never hesitating, never spilling into the trees. It knew the shape of the road better than I did. I checked the rearview mirror. Behind me, darkness. Not the ordinary kind, the kind that still holds depth, suggestion, the faint outline of things. This was flat, absolute, as if the road had been erased the moment I passed it. A flicker of movement caught in the side mirror. I turned my head slightly, eyes darting toward the fog along the shoulder. For a fraction of a second, I thought I saw something pacing the car, tall, narrow, its outline blurred by the mist. Then it was gone. Only fog. Only stillness. I swallowed and focused forward again. The light had narrowed. I hadn't noticed when it started, but now it was obvious. The illuminated strip had tightened until it barely covered the width of my lane. The white line on the right vanished into darkness. The center line faded ahead of me, swallowed just beyond the edge of the glow. I drifted slightly toward the shoulder, testing it. The moment my tire crossed out of the light, the steering resisted. Not violently, just a dull, heavy push like turning into thick mud. The car shuddered faintly, a vibration I felt through the pedals and into my legs. I corrected back. The resistance vanished instantly. A thin, cold line of sweat slid down my back. The light wasn't just guiding me. It was keeping me in place. I slowed further. The engine dropped into a low, strained hum, louder now in the absence of everything else. No insects, no wind. Even the fog had stopped moving entirely, suspended mid-curl along the roadside. The light crept closer. The distance between it and the car shortened until the illuminated section of road compressed into a tight, bright rectangle just beyond the hood. It felt claustrophobic, like the visible world was being folded inward. Then something appeared at its edge. A shape, low, sprawled across the asphalt. My chest tightened. I leaned forward, squinting, trying to resolve it before I reached it. It didn't move. I hit the brakes. The car lurched to a stop, tires chirping briefly before settling. The engine idled, uneven now, like it was struggling to maintain itself. The shape stayed where it was, just beyond the brightest part of the light. I didn't open the door. I didn't even reach for the handle. I just stared, waiting for it to become something ordinary. The light advanced. Slowly, deliberately, it slid forward and washed over the shape. It wasn't solid. It was flat, a reflection. It lay across the asphalt like a second layer, slightly misaligned with the world above it. The surface of it shimmered faintly, like water without movement. Within it, I saw my car. Not as it was, but off. The paint was dulled. The windshield held a long crack I didn't have. The headlights were dark. The driver's seat, empty. I leaned closer, breath shallow. The reflection lagged behind me. When I shifted, it followed a moment later, like it needed time to decide what I had done. The light held it there, forcing the image to stay. Then it changed. The car in the reflection wasn't empty anymore. Someone sat in the driver's seat. Their posture matched mine exactly. Same forward lean, same tension in the shoulders, hands fixed on the wheel in the same tight grip. Their face, the light flickered once, sharp and precise. And I understood. It wasn't showing me something else. It was showing me something later. The air turned colder, sudden and invasive. The windshield began to fog from the outside, thin patches blooming and spreading in uneven patterns. The light widened slightly, revealing the edge of the road. The trees there leaned inward. Not dramatically, just enough that the trunks angled toward the asphalt, their shadows stretching in directions that didn't match any source I could name. They pointed toward the car, converging in a way that felt intentional. I glanced down at my own shadow cast across the dashboard. It was wrong. It sat just behind where it should have been, its head tilted at an angle I hadn't taken. When I lifted my hand, it stayed still. A low pressure built in my ears, a deep, internal hum that didn't come from the engine. It felt older than sound, something vibrating through the ground, through the car, through me. The light brightened, not outward, but inward, sharper, focused. I felt it on my skin. Not warmth, not even cold. Tension, pressed against me through the glass, searching. Understanding settled slowly, heavily. This wasn't happening to me by chance. Every turn I'd taken tonight, every instinctive choice, every moment I'd thought I was following the road, I'd been guided, narrowed, positioned. The light shifted again. The reflection changed one last time. The road disappeared. The car disappeared. There was only a vast, pale surface stretching outward in all directions, smooth and endless. And across it ran a narrow band of light, like a path cut into it. Along that path stood shapes. Dozens, maybe hundreds. Faint silhouettes, each one caught mid-step, mid-motion, all facing forward. All waiting. The engine cut out. Silence collapsed in around me. The dashboard went dark. The hum vanished. The only thing left was the pale strip of light on the road. It moved forward, leaving the car behind. Inviting. I don't remember opening the door. I remember the asphalt under my feet, cold, solid, and the way the light adjusted instantly to include me, narrowing again, precise. Behind me, the car was already fading, its shape dissolving into the same flat darkness that had swallowed the road. Ahead, the light stretched on. And above, beyond the thick, unmoving clouds, I understood. It wasn't the moon's light. It never had been. Something behind it, something older than the sky, used that borrowed glow to search. to map, to collect. It had been watching me long before tonight. The reflection had shown it. This wasn't the first road. This wasn't the first time. Each night, each drive, I had been brought a little closer. Adjusted. Aligned. I looked ahead. The silhouettes shifted slightly, making space. Waiting for me to take the place already shaped for me. The light pulsed faintly, satisfied. And as I stepped forward into it, I understood the final truth it had been narrowing me toward. It wasn't guiding me along the road. It was refining me into something that belonged inside the light. A car tailgated me for miles, but disappeared whenever I blinked. At first, I thought it was just my eyes drying out. The road stretched ahead in a long, empty ribbon of asphalt, faintly reflective from an earlier rain. My headlights skimmed over the damp surface, catching shallow cracks and uneven patches that shimmered like thin ice. The engine hummed steadily beneath me, a low, constant vibration that I felt more than heard. In the rearview mirror, a pair of headlights burned close. Too close. I frowned and eased my foot off the accelerator. The car behind didn't fall back. If anything, the lights seemed to swell, filling more of the mirror, flattening into a bright, indistinct glare. "Back off," I muttered. I blinked. Darkness. For the briefest instant, the mirror reflected only my own dim interior, the back seat, the headrest, the faint outline of my shoulders. Then my eyes opened again. The road behind me was empty. No headlights, no car. I stared at the mirror longer than I should have, waiting for the lights to reappear naturally, like they had simply dipped behind a curve or turned off suddenly. But the road was straight, flat, endless. I swallowed and looked forward. The silence pressed in. It wasn't complete. There was still the engine, the soft hiss of tires on damp asphalt, but everything else had gone. No distant wind, no insects. Even the faint hum of power lines that usually traced rural roads had vanished. I blinked again. The headlights snapped back into existence. Closer than before. My hands tightened on the wheel. They hadn't approached gradually. There was no sense of motion, no closing distance. They were simply there now, occupying a new position in space as if the world had been rearranged in the instant my eyes were closed. I exhaled slowly through my nose. "Okay," I said. "Okay. I'm just tired." I shifted slightly in my seat, forcing myself to stay calm. The steering wheel felt cool under my palms, the texture of worn leather grounding me. I adjusted the rearview mirror, angling it just a fraction. The headlights adjusted with it. Not their position on the road, their angle. They stayed centered in the mirror, as if they were correcting for my movement. A faint vibration ran through the wheel, subtle enough I might have missed it earlier. It didn't match the rhythm of my own tires. It was slightly off, like a second pattern layered beneath the first. I blinked. The lights vanished. The vibration softened. I blinked again. They returned. Closer. The gap between us was shrinking, but not in any continuous way. It only changed when I blinked, each closure of my eyes slicing time into fragments where something adjusted itself behind me. I tried to keep my eyes open. At first, it wasn't difficult. I focused on the road ahead, on the faint sheen of moisture and the way my headlights caught it in narrow bands. I counted seconds in my head, letting the rhythm of the engine anchor me. 1, 2, 3. My eyes began to burn. 4, 5. The urge to blink built slowly, then all at once a sharp, involuntary pressure. 6. I blinked. The headlights surged forward. They were so close now that the glare filled the mirror completely, washing out any detail. I couldn't see the shape of the car, only the intensity of its lights, white, cold, and slightly too steady. No flicker, no variation, like they weren't headlights at all. I inhaled sharply. "Stop," I whispered, though I wasn't sure to who. The road curved gently to the left. I followed it automatically, my body moving through familiar motions while my attention remained locked on the mirror. The lights followed perfectly. No delay, no drift. I blinked again, too fast this time, reflexive. The lights shifted. Not just closer, Higher. I froze. The position was wrong now. The beams angled slightly downward, as if the vehicle behind me had grown taller, its headlights mounted higher than before. A truck? No, there had been no sound of an engine change, no deepening of tone. The vibration beneath my hands remained the same, that faint, mismatched rhythm. I leaned forward, squinting into the mirror. The glare resolved just for a moment into shape. There was no grille, no hood, just light, held in a vague outline that suggested a vehicle without ever becoming one. I blinked. Darkness. Blink. Light again. Closer. The rhythm was accelerating now, not in time but in change. Each blink altered something: distance, height, width. The space behind me was becoming unstable, rewritten in the fraction of a second my eyes were closed. My breathing quickened. I tried to fix my gaze forward again, but it didn't help. Even without looking directly, I could feel it behind me, its presence defined by the way the world seemed to hinge on my perception. I blinked. The road ahead shifted. It was subtle but unmistakable. The cracks in the asphalt no longer matched the pattern I'd been following. The reflective paint lines seemed slightly misaligned, as if they'd been redrawn. I gripped the wheel harder. No, I said. No, no. I blinked again. The sound changed. For a split second, I heard a second set of tires, not behind me but beneath me, overlapping my own. A doubled rhythm perfectly out of sync. Then it was gone. I licked my lips, which had gone dry. It wasn't following me. It was aligning with me. Each blink brought it closer, not just in distance, but in correspondence. Matching angles, matching speed, matching presence. I forced my eyes open again, wider this time, ignoring the sting. The mirror glowed with that impossible light. I focused on my reflection in it, the faint outline of my face, barely visible against the glare. It lagged. When I shifted slightly, my reflection followed a fraction too late, like it needed permission to exist. My stomach dropped. I blinked. The delay shortened. I blinked again. Shorter. Again. My reflection snapped into perfect synchronization. And the headlights, they weren't behind me anymore. They were level, aligned with my shoulders, my position, as if whatever they belonged to had moved into the same space I occupied. The vibration through the steering wheel deepened, merging with the second rhythm until I couldn't tell which was mine. I inhaled, sharp and shallow. The realization came slowly, like something rising through thick water. It didn't exist when I wasn't looking. It needed my perception to hold its shape. And every time I blinked, I gave it a moment to adjust, to refine itself, to become more like me. I tried to stop blinking entirely. My eyes burned, vision blurring at the edges. Tears gathered, distorting the road into streaks of light and shadow. The urge built again, overwhelming, unavoidable. No, I whispered. I blinked. Everything snapped. The mirror showed no road behind me, no separation, just a perfect reflection of the interior of my car. 2 steering wheels, 2 sets of hands, mine, and another, laid directly over them, fingers aligned exactly, pressure matching mine through the wheel. I didn't feel them, but I knew they were there. I forced my eyes open as wide as they would go, breath hitching. If I blinked again, the thought didn't finish, because I understood. The car never disappeared when I blinked. Completed itself. Each closure removed me from the equation for just long enough that it could move into place, step by step, frame by frame, until there was no difference left. The reason it vanished was because there was nothing left behind me to see. I kept my eyes open. Seconds stretched. The road ahead blurred. Smeared by tears I refused to wipe away. My vision trembled, the world threatening to fracture under the strain. The hands on the wheel didn't move. Neither did mine. We were already synchronized. The engine's hum was singular now. One rhythm, one presence. My eyes screamed for relief. Every instinct demanded it. But I understood what would happen if I gave in. If I blinked, there would be no distinction left to restore. No before and after. Just one continuous state. The headlights didn't exist behind me anymore because they had never been behind me at all. They had always been waiting for me to close my eyes long enough to step into alignment. My vision narrowed, tunneling. Black crept in at the edges. I held it back as long as I could, long enough to realize the final truth. The car didn't disappear when I blinked. I did, and when my eyes finally closed, there would be nothing left to come back.